How is it going? Waiting for people to trickle in here. We're just popping up live on all the different platforms. Super excited to have you guys here. It is Friday evening / night for some of you guys. All right, we're already full here.
8 p.m. on a Friday night, guys.
Yeah, man. I just want to point out that Dave picked this day and time.
I know. I don't know what I was thinking.
I don't either. Well, and I saw your last live Q&A was last Sunday at 5 or 8 your time. I was like, what are you doing?
Well,
You're like,
as I just told you offline, I've had parties all week.
I know, man. You've been party
It's the holiday season. So yeah, it's actually been tough to squeeze this in, but it's been way too long since we did this.
Yeah, it's been a really long time. Well, hey, while you guys are jumping in here, why don't you put your where you're tuning in from?
Hey,
here we go, Linda. What's up? Hey, where are you guys tuning in from? I'm Jordan with Laundromat Resource, and I'm in Orange County, California, and we got Dave.
And I'm Dave. I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio. How's everyone doing? And I just want to point out to everybody, we are streaming on, I'm not sure how many, but many different platforms, including Laundromat Millionaire and Laundromat Resource, which I constantly call Laundromat Millionaire. So if you are on my platform and are not familiar with Jordan, or any of my channels, I should say, and are not familiar with Jordan, first of all, where you've been hiding because he's a rock star. But go check out his website. Go check out his podcast. Laundromatresource.com is the website. He's got all kinds of awesome content over there, including a free membership and a pro membership and all of that stuff. So go check out all of his stuff if you're someone that normally follows me and aren't familiar with Jordan. What is going on over here? The chat is blowing up in like 5 seconds.
I know. I'm cracking up over here. And make sure you go check out laundromatmillionaire.com. Thanks, Dave, for doing that. Yeah. Check out laundromatmillionaire.com and all of Dave's stuff. Obviously, he's got a lot of awesome stuff going on over there. Welcome to everybody. I mean, you guys are Ted's busting out the cocktail. I kind of feel like we're on can we just all be on
like a happy hour? Like a virtual
laundromat date tonight? Just all of us. We'll all just be on a laundromat date. It's Friday night. I've got my Friday best on. I'm like ready to go. You know?
I'm all dressed up with nowhere to go.
Essentially a laundromat club happening right here. But welcome to everybody. You guys are chiming in from all over the place. Ohio, Gary, Luke, what's going on, man?
Hey guys.
I see Sharon here from Wichita. Welcome. Laundry Station. That's a legend right there. Natalie is here in Toronto. Also a legend. Former podcast guest, both of them. Texachusetts. I like that.
Where is that?
I'm assuming maybe half Texas, half Massachusetts. I don't know. Covington, Georgia. New York. Welcome, Stuart in the house. Waleed is here. We got Madison, who's fangirl. Madison is, if you haven't seen, she's on the team over here and creating some content and stuff. We had a meeting this morning, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm fangirling on Dave." So she's fangirling in Charlotte over there.
I know who she is. Was she on that Q&A that I hopped on a few weeks ago? You were on there with is it Jason?
Something? Yeah, Jason Foster. Okay. Yeah,
that's Madison. Hi, Madison. How are you? Yep. Hopefully someday we'll meet in person.
Yeah. She'll be. You'll see more of her. Kelly Reed's here. Yeah, welcome. You guys are coming in from all over Birmingham,
Trenton. I just want to point something out, Jordan. You know, we did these for a year every month for a year and a half. But the first one we ever did, we've got to be pushing 2 years ago now. And we didn't have this many comments in 90 minutes. On the first one. Yeah. So thank you to you guys for embracing what we are both trying to do, which is bring you together. Because this is so cool to see. We haven't done this in a little while, probably 6 or 8 months now, together at least. We've done it individually. And so this is the power of collaboration, right? This is the power of us not needing anyone else's permission to get together and share information, build relationships virtually or whatever, which we can grow upon when we're in person, whether it's at the Clean Show or conferences or workshops or whatever those things look like. So thank you to you guys for helping me and Jordan kind of make our dreams come true, which is just to bring good people together, doing good stuff, and what I call elevate the industry. Thank you to you guys.
Translation.
Friday night in Vegas, Joe.
We do what we want. Yeah, we're saving Joe Dan money. Stay off the tables, Joe Dan. Stay out of the slots.
No kidding. Kelly, I hope you're supervising Joe Dan. Daggone. If he's in Vegas, I'm not sure what's going on over there.
Man, Ted, what's up? Courtney in London, making us international. Appreciate it. Arcane, Connecticut, Long Island, Ricardo, Rufino's in New Jersey. Welcome, Washington.
I know we're not tracking, but I see multiple continents here, which is pretty
Australia
cool.
chiming in. Kishore, what's up?
Yep.
All over the place. Montgomery, Alabama.
Prince George, that's Canada, right? Richard's in Canada, I think. Harold's here. Hey, Harold, how are you, man? Harold's a good buddy of ours. He attended one of our workshops, and he is an awesome guy. Absolutely awesome guy.
Love it. Rudy in Chicago.
Nice.
Hey, while we're doing that, I'm gonna give Dave a second just to Tampa in the house. I'm gonna give Dave a second just to kind of share who he is in case you're coming from my platform and have lived under a rock and don't know who he is. While he's doing that, and you'll probably have plenty of time because he never shuts up. But while he's doing that, this is a live Q&A. We are here, yes, to be on a date with you and to hang out with you because we love doing that. But we're also here to get questions answered. So if it's operational questions because you already own laundromats, get those in there. We'll talk about those. If it's you're new and you're trying to get in the business and you got questions, get those in there. No questions off limits. And like if you want to know how long Dave's been bald, put it in the chat and we'll address it, whatever it is. My job is to try to keep him on track enough to where we can answer as many of those questions as possible.
Hopeless.
And let me tell you, I earn my money doing that. So
you're worth every penny I'm getting for this.
I got to earn it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll address first things first.
Yeah.
I'm not bald. I'm shaved. There's a difference.
Okay.
Bald is when you lose your hair.
Got it.
I actually have a thick
You didn't wait for it to happen. You just
that I wish
proactive.
Away. I spent a lot of money on Mach 3s over the years. But 19 years old. I hated my hair my whole life and shaved it one day because I was 19 and silly and being dumb and trying to show off for my friends. And
it never grew back.
Cool. Well, no, it never grew back. I wish. I'd probably be multi laundromat millionaire
without all the razors. Yeah.
Right. Oh, you have no idea. Gosh, they get expensive. But anyway, yeah, I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio. Me and my wife Carla own a few laundromats over here. We do pickup and delivery. We've been in the business since about 2010. And I was just telling Jordan the other day that not that I by any means think or hope that I've arrived, but we just put on a holiday party for our employees the other day. That was just one of the most satisfying things in my 14 years of business ownership to be able to do for my team and their family and their grandkids. I posted a few pictures and videos and stuff on social media. So I'm kind of glowing right now because that's I want to be in business to solve problems and serve people. I want to be in business to create jobs and things like that. But I also want to be in business to better other people's lives. And one of the ways we do that is, as we need to, as we hire employees. And me and Carla and our team are pretty passionate about how we treat our team members, the culture that we try to build in our community. So yeah, I'm on a little bit of a high right now because we had a big holiday party for everybody that was just a lot of fun to sit back and watch them enjoy themselves. And they have absolutely earned that. So that's who we are. That's who we are. So last thing I guess I would say is a few years ago, we got a little bit bored, or when I say me got a little bit bored and started doing some consulting, met Jordan, started our own podcast, our own platform. Obviously, most people know that me and Jordan kind of clicked. We've become pretty good friends, have a lot in common, and just kind of doing our own thing over here, trying to bring value to the industry unapologetically, by the way. As I mentioned a minute ago, we don't need permission to do this stuff. There is no gatekeeper anymore. This is our industry. We are laundromat owners, and we can do whatever we want to do. We're all much more powerful together than we are individually. So that's my spiel.
Love it.
Was that long enough?
We do what we want.
We do what we want. That's my new. I'm getting ready to elevate the industry. That's my new tagline.
Well, it's funny because I took my family. We all went to Europe for a couple months this summer, and one of our themes was do hard things to do cool things, which was cool. The other one was we do what we want. We're American, and so you know what? Yeah. We'll just do what we want. We're American. There's no rules or anything.
I hope you didn't call any names that ended in American.
Yeah, no. I'm just kidding. That one is not true. Also, welcome to Mr. Water Whip from Montgomery. Awesome name, by the way.
Yeah. Winner of the best name so far.
Yeah, and Dana from Atlanta. Awesome. All right, we got some questions rolling in. If you've got questions, get them in the chat, not only because you might get to hear what Dave has to say about it, but also because there are multiple other legends in the chat there who love to answer your questions. So it is a great opportunity to be getting your questions out there right now, because you've got an expert here who is here to help answer those questions, and you've got experts in the chat help answer those questions. You're going to get a lot of good advice.
Joe Dan wants to know what the front of your hat says.
Oh, it says, oh, you can't see that.
Sorry.
Go Abundance.
Go Abundance. Okay, nice. Very cool.
And Richard wants to know if I can give you surf lessons. So
I can barely stand on the ground on my own 2 feet and with a pair of shoes on.
I don't know. I mean, listen, I would give it a shot, but I'd have to charge a lot, to do that. So
I don't blame you.
All right. You ready to answer some questions?
Let's do it, man. Let's do it.
All right. Let's start with a layup here. This is a good question, but should be pretty easy for you to answer. And I keep saying you, and I'll chime in too when I feel like I have something to do, but we got you here, man. We should utilize you. So when you retool your laundromat, and just so everybody's on the same page, retool means take your old equipment out, put new equipment in. That's retool. When you retool, does your distributor charge to take away old equipment?
As a general rule, no, they don't. They usually, it depends on the value of the equipment. I mean, you'll sometimes get trade-in. I mean, I can't think of a situation where they should charge you for it. They probably shouldn't, I guess is what I should say. In most cases, that old equipment has some value. Now, have we ever kind of exchanged even for even, meaning they've taken a bunch of old equipment out and scrapped it and kept the value of that? Because, if it's a whole store of equipment, there can be thousands of dollars in scrap value there. And they'll take whatever that credit is they get at the scrap yard. And this is if it's in really bad shape, of course. And they'll roll it in, they'll give me credit for that, for the labor and the work that they do. But as a general rule, I mean, if you just had a distributor come out and remove equipment and you're not buying anything, then yeah, they're going to charge you for their labor and their time. But I would say that's pretty general rule of thumb, is it kind of should be financially included in the deal itself. If it has any credit, any value, trade-in value or something like that, then obviously you should be getting that as well. If they're going to resell it used or refurbish it, then hopefully you're getting some kind of value in that way. But no, they really shouldn't be charging you for the most part.
Yeah, and that's been my experience, and what I've seen also. Sometimes they'll even buy them like super cheap from you, and just maybe they can sell the parts, or they can sell it for more to somebody else that they know is looking to buy or something like that. And usually, in my opinion, I mean, if it's older machines, like you got like 20-plus-year-old machines, usually, in my opinion, it's like, take them. Like,
yeah,
it's going to be a hassle for me to try to scrap them or recycle them or whatever. They've got the stuff. Take them. Take them and go.
I mean, especially if they're installing new equipment, they've got all the equipment there. They've got lift trucks and furniture dollies and all the things that they need. It shouldn't be that big of a deal. There's really no reason they should need to charge you for that.
Yeah. Great question. Keep those rolling. I mean, the questions are rolling in.
Yeah, they're popping. And we will never get through all these tonight. This is a great problem, by the way.
This is we will get through them. I don't care if I have to keep Dave up till midnight.
Oh my goodness. I turned it to midnight.
It's only 9 o'clock my time. That's nothing. SBA 504 loans. Have you used one, or do you know anything about it to acquire the property with the business? And if so, is there anything that you recommend including in the proposal for those loans?
I have not personally used one. I mean, I'm familiar with what they are. I almost did do one time. And the reason that I didn't is I was able to work out the deal better terms without the SBA. I have done other SBA loans on just acquiring the business itself early on. When I say loans, it was actually only one, and it was for a pretty small amount of money. But I've never personally done it. What I recommend you do if you're going to go the SBA route is obviously you still need a lender. You're not going to work directly with the SBA. And whatever lender you use, try to use one that has experience underwriting SBA loans. Not all of them do. And some of them have very little experience, because they can really slow down the process if they don't know what they're doing. Any SBA loan is pretty cumbersome. Talk about a lot of government red hoops that you got, or red tape that you got to plow through. I always recommend using a lender that has a lot of experience, and they don't have to be big lenders, by the way. Like, I have a local credit union here that did an SBA loan for me years and years ago, and they had a whole department. I mean, they had like 8 people that all they did was SBA loans, and they were just a regional credit union in Cincinnati. But they plowed through some loans, and there's only so many different programs out there. They had been doing them for like a decade at this point, and they were able to really streamline the process. That being said, if you ever do an SBA loan, even with a lender that knows what they're doing, buckle up, because it is a different experience. Have you ever done an SBA loan?
I haven't, but I'm throwing in the chat right now a link. Bo Eckstein, he's been on the podcast. We did a live Q&A also, and he's a buddy of mine, also in GoBundance hack. And he does SBA loans for laundromat specific, other businesses too, but
gotcha.
But for laundromat specifically, and he's got some interesting, unique ways to do it, and he can do it all over. So that link will take you to his Calendly and let you book a free 15-minute call so you can blitz him with questions. It's totally free. In fact, his whole thing is free. He gets paid by the lender when the loan goes through. So yeah. So anyways, if you're interested in that SBA and you don't know who to talk to, you can talk to a lot of different people. There's a lot of different SBA lenders, but I know that Bo knows what he's doing when it comes to laundromats and SBA.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And you had a podcast? Is that what you said?
Was that? Yeah, he was on the podcast, and there's also on YouTube. There's a live Q&A that I did with him, and he answers a lot of really great questions. I think we went for like an hour and a half or more.
Cool. So I know a lot of people have logged in since I said this, but if you're watching on any of my channels, because we're streaming on the Laundromat Millionaire channels and Laundromat Resource channels, if you're not familiar with Jordan, his platform is laundromatmillionaire.com. His channels, YouTube. I did it again, didn't I? Laundromat Resource. We're too close together.
I know. I think. Listen, I had mine first, so
I know. I need to find a new one. That's all there is.
That's right. You got to rebrand.
Boring old laundromat guy. Shave bald guy. So anyway, if you're not familiar with his platform, laundromatresource.com, and you'll see his podcast, on all the major podcasting platforms. So when you hear him refer to Q&As and things like that, he has a pro community over there that some things are in the pro community. So when you hear him referring to that, if you're watching on any of my channels, make sure you're checking that stuff out, because you have 140 episodes now or something like that. Is that about right?
138 or something like that.
138. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And likewise, if you're from my channel, Laundromat Millionaire, on YouTube and podcast and laundromatmillionaire.com, and he's got a community also, and he does in-person workshops, which are money and worth your time and investment for sure. If you're looking to do pickup and delivery, wash, dry, fold, and more. So keep an eye on that platform and get on his list as well. Okay.
There's no chance we're getting through all these. None.
You're getting through every single one of them.
All right, let's go.
Okay. All right. So, okay. Somebody was saying they're in Pennsylvania, and Pennsylvania is committed to going green, carbon free by 2040. You got any insight on what impact that might have on laundromats?
Not specifically. I think I saw, was that maybe even Harold that posted that. Harold, if you have any specific questions, I mean, most commercial laundry equipment, and I know some manufacturer can tell you it's more green than others, and that's probably true. Most commercial laundry equipment is pretty green nowadays. And especially, everything's relative. Depends on what are we comparing it to. If we're comparing it to residential machines, it's night and day as far as the efficiency and things like that. If you add things like ozone to your store, tankless water heaters. I mean, there's a million different directions you can go to be more efficient, but I wouldn't think you would have too many problems. If there's anything that they're going to pass specifically regulating you, I would think we would all hear about it. But 2040, I mean, I know it's not that far away, but that's 17 years away. That's a long time. And I know from talking, Harold was at my workshop, and he's told me he's wanting to get in the industry in the next couple of years. I would think you would have plenty of runway and plenty of time to navigate those things. But if it's specific to your city, I mean, you can reach out to whoever's putting those laws together and ask them specifically how it affects you. Usually those things will affect certain industries or certain segments of industries, like HVAC will have these laws, and et cetera, et cetera. If you're not allowed to use gas dryers or whatever, those types of things. which I know these are all kind of conversations happening right now. I don't think I would let it concern me at the moment, though. Just be aware.
And 17 years out, listen, you should probably be retooling between
agreed.
now and then. So,
Agreed.
and manufacturers are going to have to respond to those regulations. So, just keep an eye on it and do what you got to do. Awesome answer. Have you or do you hire employees from a separate entity? And what I'm assuming that means is, do you go to like Indeed or something like that and hire them and bring them into your laundromat?
I guess I'm not sure on the question. If you mean like how do we find employees? Yeah, we use Facebook, Indeed. We also use a local staffing agency. Maybe repost your question, give us a little bit of clarification there. If that's what we're referring to as job sourcing sites and staffing services and things like that, yes, we use those type of services. We find a lot of value in them for sure. Some more than others. If the question is, and I may be off base here, but if the question is more, do I have a separate entity that like holds, a separate LLC,
like management that maybe, or something, yeah,
right, something like that. We do have a separate entity for our pickup and delivery business, which houses, quote unquote, has a separate payroll, and it's just our delivery drivers. All of our other employees, because we have about 35, 40 employees, all of our other employees are in one entity, which is kind of our holding company, if you will. And that's for our retail laundromats, and then our production and our management team is in that entity. The only ones that are in the other entity are delivery drivers. And they actually get, separate paycheck from a separate company and everything else, even though they work out of the same facility. So I'm not real sure if there's a couple different questions there.
Yeah, I think that was a good response that kind of covers both.
Yeah.
Okay. Question coming in from Alaska. First of all, I hope you're warm and cozy up there. I'm freezing just thinking about being in Alaska right now. Is digital payment system, is that the way to go? Is that the way of the future? Should we chuck out the coins? What's your opinion on that?
Why don't you go first?
Listen, I mean, we talk about this a lot, right? It's what we want to do is meet our customers where they're at and also lead them a little bit too. So, there's a case to be made, and part of it has to do with, in my opinion, part of it has to do with what your goal is and what your plans are with your business, with your portfolio. The most versatile way to go is, yes, have a digital payment option, and also, either accept coins or have a cash way for people to pay for that, for the people who like to do that. But I think, maybe controversial opinion, but I think more and more having that digital payment option, at least, if not entirely, having the option for digital payment it's still going to be a market differentiator in a lot of markets, which is a good thing. Even though more and more laundromats are implementing those. And also I think it's just a strong way to go to give options to your customers on different ways to pay. What are your thoughts?
Excuse me. Yeah. You covered most of it. I think the only thing that I would add to that is I when we're in business, unless you're planning on, being out of, retiring or something like that in the next few years, kind of part of our responsibility is to attempt to predict the future, which is, I stress the word attempt. So I've kind of crystal balled in the last few years what I believe the future of our industry payment systems look like. And then I've also tried to predict for myself and for coaching clients and workshop clients and things like that. How do we get there? I did a podcast on it. I don't remember the name, or I would give it to you, but it's a payment that has payment systems in the title. So go check that out. But the quick version of it is I've kind of dialed it into a couple different things just based on my opinion. One of them is, if you're a rural laundromat and, you're doing $1,200 a week or something like that, it's a nice little business, but, you're in a town of 5,000-10,000 people and it's never going to be anything more than that, then you can probably get away with, staying in the coin side of business only for at least a longer period of time. That's kind of a vague answer, but that's one side of the equation. The other side of the equation is, if you're in a very, progressive, forward thinking, large major metropolitan city right now, excuse me, and you're not offering digital payment systems, you're probably already behind. So those are kind of the two ends of the spectrum. I apologize. Those are the two ends of the spectrum. And then how do you get from where you are to where you're going is a big predictor. And so what we do, because we're kind of in between those two markets, if you will, and what we've decided is right now we have a hybrid payment system. So we've in dollar coins, we've in credit debit cards at the machines, and we take phone pay as well. And pretty soon we'll have the prepaid loyalty cards. So we'll have multiple payment options. But what my crystal ball tells me, which could be dead wrong, is I believe in the next 8 to 10 years that our industry, at least the most modernized laundromats, will be almost exclusively phone pay. That's what I believe we will be. Now, how long it takes to get there, I could be off on the timeline. Like I said, part of that depends on the market. So part of it depends on your market. Part of it depends on your volume. Part of it also depends on how many locations do you have. Because if you have one location, you don't have near as big of issues with collections and payment systems and things like that as we've had, as you have if you're running a store that does $50K a week in self-serve or something like that. I apologize. I'm going to struggle tonight. I'm getting over a cold, guys. Sorry about the clear in my throat here.
Ooh, we might get to actually get to more questions because you can't talk as long. This is going to be great.
That's very likely.
Which is good because I cannot keep up with the questions. We've got
this is awesome.
A ton of them
awesome
going in, which is great. Keep those questions coming.
Yep.
Let's keep Dave up all night. Just kidding. Do you have any experience with? First of all, great answer. I'll be intrigued to see where the digital payment systems go actually, and if they are all phone pay, which is really interesting. I'm definitely keeping an eye on that and seeing what the trends are looking like. Do you have any experience with Kiasoft? I don't have any experience with them, so I don't feel like I can comment on them.
No, I don't personally have any experience, and honestly, usually I will have at least a few coaching clients that have experience, but I do not. I don't know that I would be shooting in the dark if I offered an opinion there.
Yeah, anybody in the chat that's here have any experience? Throw that in the chat because I don't have any experience with that.
No.
Okay. So somebody's putting together a business plan and they're getting stuck on competitor analysis. Do you have any tips on how to sort of compare a laundromat to the competitors or what kinds of things to be looking for that business plan?
Yeah, I know we have a ton of questions, so I'll just throw out a couple resources that I think will help you. We have a couple free downloadables on my website, laundromatmillionaire.com. One of them is a competitive analysis cheat sheet, which is totally free. Go to the website, you can download it for free. The other one is a business plan template specific for laundromats. I think if you follow those two things, it's going to be very helpful to you. So I know it's a super quick answer because if I try to give you like Dave Menz's coaching answer, it's going to be 30 minutes. but there's a lot to it. What I tell all my coaching clients and friends in the industry is it's an art, not a science. So demographics are a part of the equation, but I really hate it. That's not the right. It really drives me crazy when people try to take an only scientific approach to demographics because there is an art to doing it as well. And that's kind of why I created that little cheat sheet. And it's not complicated. It's basic stuff. But yeah, at the end of the day, you want to recognize their level of expertise, their level of execution, and then try to relate it to yours and the market as a whole. So I could go on for an hour, but that's the super quick version.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's no way you're getting that answer out in under 30 minutes if you're going with the consulting.
Yeah.
It's
a great question, by the way, which is why we have the template. And I think if you look at the template, the cheat sheet, and I know you and I both have talked about this extensively on our podcasts and probably other Q&As when we had maybe less questions. We maybe had more time to go more in depth. But the answer is that the quick answer is that, that question is one of the most important questions you'll answer and ask yourself. So make sure you take the time to dig deep and do it correctly. And if you're on your own, think about finding someone to help you through the process. Even if it is just, a local distributor or something like that, they can be very helpful with those things. One of the distributors' primary jobs I tell people this all the time. Obviously their job is to sell equipment, but one of their biggest jobs is to understand and keep their kind of ear to the ground of the local market, to understand the competitors in the market and how they behave and how they do business and their growth trajectories. And obviously not all distributors are great distributors, but if you find a great one, they can be a great resource to help you navigate that too, because they should know a lot of these things before they even go out and see the locations. So yeah, another little tip.
Awesome. Okay, this is a very specific question, and I want you to answer it very specifically.
Oh, boy.
I need from you the 5 most important things to look for when looking to build a new laundromat in terms of location. 5, no more, no less.
You got to be kidding me.
That's a question, man. Don't kill the messenger. That was a question.
Very specific question. So we're building new. You said that, right?
Mm-hmm. New location.
Yeah. So in my opinion, and I can't remember where I heard this. It's not an original thought of Dave Menz's. It's probably some
from
famous,
me.
probably from, if it's really smart, so it's probably Jordan. Was if there's one thing that I could choose for a competitive advantage in my market, it was this person I heard this from, and I think it's Alex Hermosi. Now that I think about it, is a starving crowd. So he gives the analogy of a hot dog cart. You taught him that.
I did.
So he uses the analogy of a hot dog cart, and he says if you had a hot dog, vending cart where you sell hot dogs, what would you choose as your competitive advantage? Would you have the best hot dogs on the planet, the best quality, or would you have the best price, the cheapest hot dogs, or no competition? Like, what would you choose? And then he lets people give all kinds of wrong answers, and then he says, what you would want is actually none of those things. You want a starving crowd. You want to be the only, hot dog stand in town, or the only one left with hot dogs outside of a entertainment venue that's letting out a crowd of 20,000 people that haven't eaten, or something, that are all been drinking alcohol or something like that. So that's the super quick answer. I don't know that we have time to go through 5 of them. But ultimately what I'm looking for is I would classify this as 1 through 5. Here, I'm cheating a little. What I would tell you is you're looking for the laws of supply and demand are undefeated. So you're looking for a market, what I call a sub-market. So a 1, 3, 5 mile radius around a particular location where the laws of supply and demand are tipped in your favor. If your plan is to build a modernized laundromat at address 123 Main Street, take a circumference of 1, 3, 5 mile radius around that location. Look at the competitors. Just because there's a bunch of laundromats there doesn't mean that it's bad competition or good competition. How do they compare to what you're going to build and how you're going to execute your business plan? Because you're looking to be a unicorn in a perfect world, right? So that's a super quick answer.
Yeah, and once you determine there's a need, quick little cheat code in terms of what location is good. Look for locations that cater to a similar demographic.
Mm-hmm. That's a very
fast food restaurants, your 99-cent stores, your check cashing places, your Walmart, stuff like that. And if those places are there, then you're probably in a good area, for that if that demand is there. So awesome answer. I just saw that.
By the way, what he just said applies to self-serve. So I know our
industry is evolving. Good clarification.
Yes. There are even self-serve business models, and most of my stores would fall into this category, that we don't really attract the people. At least probably less than 25% of our self-serve business comes from people who don't have washers and dryers, people we would categorize as low income. That's less than 25% of our self-serve revenue only, which, by the way, about 50% of our revenue total across all 4 stores is pickup and delivery and drop off. So 25% of self-serve only is a very small number for us, is people that just are your stereotypical, I call them back in the 80s, self-serve laundromat customer. Now we attract a lot more people that are using our facility for a lot of different ways. So keep that in mind too. We sometimes, I think we know too much for our own good sometimes, and we make staple answers to things. And our industry is evolving and changing so quickly that we have to look at it through a different lens sometimes. So I just want to throw that out there.
Awesome. Just saw that Ross Dodds is in the chat, another legend. So welcome. He's throwing out some good advice on a question we'll get to probably in an hour because it's way down there. Okay. You got any thoughts on somebody? Sounds like I didn't write down who it was, but somebody owns a laundromat and wants to start pickup and delivery, but is thinking about starting a pickup and delivery and not a drop off laundry, wash, dry, fold, and not having someone attending all the time. Do you have any thoughts on that? Is that a good idea, a bad idea? Can that work? Can that not work? What are your thoughts on that?
So they have a self-serve laundromat that's open to the public, and they want to launch pickup and delivery, but it's an unattended laundromat, and they don't want to do drop-off. Is that right?
Right. But they do want to do pickup and delivery. Yeah. Yeah.
Gosh, honestly, I mean, if you can execute anything and there's a need, I would never tell you not to do it. But I think what you'll find pretty quickly is your pickup and delivery business, if you grow it to any level, is going to require people to be there pretty quickly, whether it's a driver, an attendant, a delegator, a processor, et cetera, et cetera. And as soon as it gets to the point where you have someone there, you're kind of crazy to not roll up a window and take over the counter orders. So can you? Sure, absolutely. But I think once you get that first employee there, I think it's kind of crazy not to. And one thing I will throw in here too is keep in mind, a lot of people don't realize this. So I want to be really clear on this. A lot of people don't realize that when you evolve from an unattended laundromat, and I'm talking self-serve, to an attended laundromat, that typically it doesn't happen overnight, but usually within about 12 months, your self-serve revenue should increase enough to justify your payroll of being attended. And I hope I stated that so everyone understood it, because I don't think we talk about this enough. We talk about drop off, pickup and delivery, labor, all these different things, and we never account for an increase in self-serve business. And what I've attributed that to over the years, and I'm curious your thoughts on a couple of these things I'm saying, Jordan. I've attributed that to over the years of coaching a bunch of people, and I evolved from unattended to partially attended to eventually fully attended, is I estimate just kind of anecdotally that there's at least 20-30% of most markets, customers will not use a laundromat, no matter how nice it is, if it's unattended. One's the hassle factor. If they get there and have a problem, there's, quote unquote, no one to help them. And the other one is the safety factor. They don't like the idea of there not being a sheriff in town, no one's home. And so I think we as an industry underestimate the value of somebody being there for self-serve. For your value proposition increases going from unattended to attended, then the revenue you can generate over the counter for drop off. And then of course, if you're going to run a pickup and delivery business, you're going to need somebody there anyways. So I hope I did a good job of explaining that, because I could try to keep it real basic, but that's honestly could be a whole hour coaching call right there. But a lot of people don't realize the value of that. So not trying to harp on unattended stores or anything like that. There's a place for them, and I know plenty of people that run them really well that way. But if you start to evolve into this type of a thought process, I think you're going to find a lot of parallels and a lot of things that kind of, a lot of things you can bounce off of if then type of scenarios. So I'm not sure if that's a good answer, but that's the quick answer.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Listen, one of the beauties of this business, there's a lot of ways to skin a cat, which is a horrible saying. There's a lot of ways to do this and be successful, right? I mean,
for sure.
Dave has found a very great way to do that. You've got other people like the Willafords who have a completely different business model. You've got like Waleed, who's in the chat, who has a completely different business model. Yet all are super successful, right? So there's a lot of different ways to do it. So, like Dave said, would never say, don't do it. And my opinion is like, hey, it's not a problem to start going that direction. And as you gain more information, you can adjust course, right? Course correct a little bit. Maybe you find out there is a demand for drop off, and you can add that, or, some of the things Dave was saying. So I would default to, do as much research, get as much input as you can, but then try it and then just course correct that whole ready, fire, aim thing, right? Like take the shot, and then as the bullet's flying, direct it how you need to direct it.
Yeah, I think the other thing I'll throw out there too real quick is, when we talk about pickup and delivery, my mind automatically goes to what I call scalability. Like if you're going to do pickup and delivery, let's freaking scale this. That's kind of how my mind works. But there's plenty of markets where there's a good enough market to run a pickup and delivery business, but probably not a big enough market to run it at what I would call scale, meaning in, multiple six figures or even millions in a lot of cases for pickup and delivery. So that also kind of depends, because if you're in a scenario where you want to run a pickup and delivery business, but your pickup and delivery business is much smaller than like my pickup and delivery business, then yeah, I think you're kind of hitting a middle ground, which may be the question you're asking. You're hitting a middle ground where maybe it doesn't make sense to do drop off. You do need someone there, but they're not necessarily there all day because you're doing pickup and delivery, but you're not doing enough to justify having someone there all day. And if you're not in a big enough market where you just don't have the ambitions to grow a big business, then you may kind of be hitting a middle ground there where you'd probably want to be what I call partially attended. And it's pretty tough to run. I've tried it, but it's pretty tough to run a drop off service, over the counter drop off service, and be partially attended. Like, you really have to kind of commit. People want to know that there's someone there whenever they want to come by. And there's alternatives to that too, drop lockers. And as Jordan mentioned, there's a million different ways to skin a cat, so to speak. But yeah, I mean, it kind of depends on where you are in the equation. But yeah, I tell people all the time, it seems like it's growing, but there's easily 20, 30 different business models out there for our industry. And then there's probably hundreds of hybrids within those 20 or 30. And if you know enough people, which me and Jordan certainly do at this point, I can point to probably dozens of them that are successful with every single one of those business models. Part of it's your market, part of it's your ambition. Some people just don't like managing employees, and so they don't want to build a business that revolves around managing a team and things like that. And that's fair, because man, every time you add another human being to the equation, things get a lot more complex.
Oh yeah, we tend to do that as people.
Yeah,
make things complex.
We do for sure.
Muddy the waters a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. Next question is somebody's opening. I don't know if they're opening a laundromat or just pickup and delivery. It sounds like maybe they're opening a laundromat and then starting pickup and delivery. And they want to go after. They're in a touristy area. They want to go after Airbnb type short-term rentals, cabins, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, how long before they open should they start marketing that service to other businesses, whether that's short-term rentals, cabins, whatever? You got any opinion on when to start that marketing process?
Well, I think it depends on if you're opening both businesses simultaneously, because they are two different businesses, self-serve and.
Well, let's talk the pickup and delivery, because that seems to be the gist of the question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wouldn't do. I mean, you want to do your organic marketing, so your SEO and things like that ahead of time, because those, Google My Business listings, those things take some time to what I call marinate. But on the marketing side, I mean, you don't want to be running paid ads and things like that and have a budget for it if you're not willing to, go pick up the laundry. Because typically, if they're looking at Google ads, for example, they see your Google ad, they have a problem today. They don't have a problem in 30 days. But I think it kind of depends on, I guess I'm not real sure the context of the question, but a self-serve laundromat's a little bit different animal. You can run coming soon and those type of things. But with pickup and delivery, it's not on demand in the sense of they need it this second, but they're not going to wait 3 months until you start. So I think if you start marketing a pickup and delivery service in most markets, especially today, if you start marketing a pickup and delivery service, you're going to find out you need to start quicker than you think you do. Because I truly believe the segment of laundry pickup and delivery in our industry is growing faster than any of us can keep up with collectively as an industry, including dry cleaning, by the way, and faster than any of us can keep up with. There is more business. It's the old supply and demand equation I was talking about a minute ago.
Yep. Great answer to that. So your Queen City app that you're developing, how do you plan on marketing that to your customers or letting them know about it once it's ready to go?
Well, it's ready to go. I mean, it's just launched the other day. We're just doing your I call it traditional, but it's just kind of common sense anymore. Email. We have an email list that we, a text list that we market people to. We have it on our website. We're actually rewrap. We bought a couple new vans recently. We're putting new wraps on the vans, and they'll put, download the app, those type of things, Google Play, Apple Store, icons and things like that on there. But for our existing customers, we're marketing it through text and email marketing. And sending them messages, because we've been doing this for, almost 9 years now, pickup and delivery, and haven't had an app. And now we do. So we have, 6, 7, 8,000 customers that aren't aware that we have an app. And so it's just a matter of getting the word out to them, but we can communicate with them pretty easily through text and email marketing.
Yeah. Are you doing anything like tangible? Are you throwing like QR codes in the the bags or anything like that?
No, our app just went live 3 or 4 days ago. We are going to put, I mean, yeah, we probably will use a QR code, but I mean, we are going to put flyers in their laundry for a few weeks. We haven't had them printed up yet, but we're going to put flyers on top of every bundle of laundry. That's another way that we'll communicate with people, just to let them know that it's there. And I mean, we'll probably, put a QR code here for Google Play, here for Apple Store, that type of thing. But at the end of the day, I mean, I think most people know how an app works and where to go find it for the most part. At the end of the day, you just got to let them know it's there and what the name of it is, and they'll go and find it. But yeah, our I forget what day I posted it, but whatever day I posted on social media that our app was live, it was live that day. It's been 2 or 3 days. So we're just now, but we're not going to call people or anything like that. We're going to send out the traditional digital marketing blast and let them know. And then as people sign up, it'll become pretty obvious in the sign up process. We have a follow-up email after they sign up that has some, this is what you do for your first pickup and that kind of stuff in it. And we'll put, in that email, to make sure you download the app.
Are you incentivizing downloading the app at all?
Now, right now, all our app will do is make it a little bit easier to use our service, which it's not hard to use. I mean, we use Sense, as everybody knows, I'm sure. And they have what's called a live link, which is just a button on our website. And that's, it's not complicated to use. So a lot of companies, if you use Amazon or whatever, it can be a lot easier to do business with them through an app. It's a little bit easier, but there's really no reason to incentivize them. It just makes it, instead of them having to bookmark a website or something like that to schedule a pickup, I mean, they can just have the app on their phone, open it up and schedule. So it's, I don't want to say it's not a big deal. It is a big deal. But we really don't see any reason to incentivize it. We just want them to know that it's there.
Cool. Thank you for sharing that. I think it was Elvis who said he owns 4 of the
Elvis
7.
Is here?
Yeah, I think it might be the Elvis.
Wow.
That's crazy. I mean,
Pretty sure.
I'm like 98% sure. Owns 4 of the 7 laundromats in his market. What are your thoughts on, should he brand them all the same, or are they okay to have their own brand? What do you think?
Yeah, I have, I mean, it's just Dave Menz's opinion. Take it for what it's worth. I'm just one guy.
Gospel.
But I have pretty strong opinions that if you have multiple stores, there's no reason for them not to be branded together. The exception to that is if they're not like for like. I mean, plenty of people do, by the way. At one point, I had one store that I called it my stepchild, and it was just not up to snuff with the other 3. They were all branded Queen City Laundry. But that one hadn't kept up with the other 3. And then now we have our new superstore, which is probably, we went from having a stepchild to now having a golden goose. So
golden child.
Right. Golden child, favorite child, so to speak. But yeah, the only reason I think it makes sense to not brand them the same is if you don't want to denigrate the value of your brand, because 1 or 2 of your stores isn't at the same level as the other ones. You may want to kind of, keep that quiet. That you happen to own both of them, but that's really the only reason. If they're all on the same level, I think it makes a lot of sense to brand them together. There's a lot of power in those kind of things.
Yeah, I agree with both of those points that you made there. I'd definitely be branding them together, especially if you have digital payment systems that can integrate between stores and you can pass customers around.
Yeah.
And you can benefit from, marketing, get a little bit of economies of scales with marketing when you got multiple of the same. I mean, there's a bunch of reasons I think that it makes sense to do that. Okay, the question was, what's your most common expense when taking over a zombie mat? I mean, it's going to be equipment purchase probably, and renovation costs. But there's a lot of costs associated with that. I would, if you're looking to go in and just completely gut something, just make sure you got somebody on your side who can help you through that process, because you can go wrong, or you can overspend, or you can under or overbuild. There's a lot of kind of gotchas there. So I'd recommend having somebody. I mean, it could be a distributor if you got a good distributor that you trust. Could be a consultant like Dave, who does consulting. Somebody who understands the business to kind of help you through that. But I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
No, I think that's a great point. That's probably not where I would have went with it, but I want to piggyback off of that because, man, if you're doing a retool, what we would call a small retool, we're talking a few $100,000. It is not hard to make a $10,000 mistake, which is a pretty small mistake relative to a $200,000 project, let alone a $500,000 or more. And it's not even a monumental mistake. It's a pretty small mistake, quote unquote mistake that you would make. And so, yeah, I mean, find yourself someone, if you have to pay them or whatever that looks like, mentor that can walk you through that process. The other thing I would say is if you're doing this for the first time and you haven't done at least a couple of these yourself, take your time, even if you have done them, by the way. I mean, unless you've done 30 of them, take your time because the industry changes. We forget that. Like, no matter how smart we are, no matter how much knowledge and experience we have, things are always changing around us. And I got to tell you, for the 15 years I've been in the industry, things have never changed as fast as they are changing right now. And so you could make what was a good decision. If I could make what was a good decision a few years ago, and that could be an 90% good decision, 10% bad, and it could cost you 50 grand. For example, you buy a card system that a couple of years ago was really good, and maybe it is under new ownership now, or maybe there's a better card system out there, just as one example. And these things can easily run $25,000 to $50,000 for a card system. Doesn't mean you're wasting $50,000 on a card system. It just means you bought, product A or B when you really wanted product C. So take your time because, man, innovation, technology, all the things we're doing, it is changing at lightning speeds, at least relative to our industry right now. So take your time, attend conferences, go to the Clean Show, listen to all these podcasts, and never believe that you know everything. I don't care if you've been in the business for 100 years. Things are changing so fast for us right now. Just because you run 6 stores this way doesn't mean you should run 7 that way. And I know I'll probably get some pushback in the chat on that, but I firmly believe that. I'm not, go ahead. Let me have it. I have opinions. Ask my opinion. I'll give it to you. But just take your time, even if you do have the knowledge and experience, is my point. So if we kind of put that out there as a parlay, then keep in mind that if you don't have experience and you don't know what you're doing, the odds of you making a $50,000, $100,000 mistake are pretty high, unfortunately.
Can you tell us which card system specifically is outdated that you shouldn't buy? I'm just kidding.
I get myself in enough trouble. I don't need
to. I take joy out of getting you in trouble.
I know you.
I'm going to skip down to Tyler's because this is just relevant to this. I finally caught up with the questions, writing them all down. Changes you're talking about. I mean, and I agree 100%. It's changing faster than it's ever changed before, probably. I think it's pretty safe to say. Is it due to technology, or what do you attribute the changes to?
Yeah. First of all, hey, Tyler, how are you? Tyler's a buddy of mine. We got to know each other. I was on his podcast. So I consider him a friend at this point. How you doing, buddy? That's a big part of it, for sure. I think the other part of it is our industry, because we've gotten a lot of positive PR over the last, let's say, 3 to 5 years specifically. There's a lot of heavy hitters coming into our industry. And heavy hitters, when I use that term, I don't necessarily mean super wealthy, although I do mean super wealthy. Sometimes it's just heavy hitters in the sense of someone that may not be super well capitalized. They may not be a hedge fund or something like that, but people that have a lot of business acumen, a lot of business experience in other industries, and they can come into this industry and pick 80, 90% of us apart real quickly because they understand the fundamentals of business. So the business acumen of our industry collectively is changing. So I think innovation and technology is one part of it, but I think we're attracting a different type of operator and a different type of investor to our industry, which means the competitive analysis in your market, you really got to pay attention to that. And you got to make sure you mind your P's and Q's. You got to know what you're doing because they will do their homework. They will take their time. They do have a lot of business experience. And I can even just speak back to 2010. Even back then, when I got in the industry, that was not the case for this industry. It was kind of the opposite. If you had a lot of business experience, a lot of people would come in, poke around, look at this industry, and kind of snicker and laugh and leave. Couldn't believe we were all taking quarters. So it's really evolved just in the 15 years I've been in the industry.
Yeah, and I would say the two run hand in hand. Right. Sure. A big reason why this hasn't happened earlier is because it's been too cumbersome to run more than a couple locations for anybody who's savvy. So it's it's kind of like this perfect storm of, technology savvy people coming in, good looking people like Dave who are promoting this industry to a wider audience. And people are just attracted to him physically and intellectually, and the industry's blown up. So I'm not gonna let you say anything after that.
People just follow me because they're not sure what I'll say next. It's like a train wreck. You can't look away.
So this is a hard question to answer, but I'm gonna throw it out there to see if you have or what you got to say on it. But if you're buying that zombie mat and you're retooling, how much money should you have behind you to kind of get this thing going? Do you have like a framework or a ballpark or something?
Well,
it can depend, but
yeah. I mean, what I tell people is there's kind of two ends of the spectrum, and I've said this a few times, but it's usually true. One of the spectrum is very little. I call it putting lipstick on a pig, which is, by the way, not a term I created either. And that's basically my story. If you've read my book, Laundromat Millionaire, that's kind of my story. I didn't have much money, built a little cash flow, did a little more. I call that a stair-stepped approach. So if you don't have a lot of capital, you just do what you can when you can do it. You keep grinding. You quote unquote keep your hand out of the cookie jar, meaning you're not taking money out of the business and living off of it. You got to live on something else for a while. But it can be done. It's a tough path. It can be done, and I don't want to discourage that because that's my story. And if that's the situation you're in, I want you to know that you can live your dream and accomplish great things. Now, if you're at the other end of the spectrum and you're very well capitalized, I still think there's something to be said. If you don't have experience, there's something to be said for still stair-stepping the approach, because once again, you're going to learn from these decisions that you make. And you might not want to jump in on day one and make $500,000 or $1 million decision in a new industry, even if you can. And I think the caveat to that is if you spend a lot of time and you take your time and you have a good coach or a good distributor, you build a network around you, which a lot of people in the chat, don't even own laundromats yet. You're doing this right now. You're living this right now. You attended conferences, even though you're quote unquote not in the business yet. You're laying that foundation so that you can make better decisions. Sometimes some of us just jump and then learn as we go. And then some of us take our time, do our due diligence, and then we jump and make really quick decisions because we've gathered a lot of information. In either scenario, just know what you're doing. But I guess what I would say is I don't really have a parameter for that. What I tell people when it comes to risk tolerance and making financial decisions, when it comes to retooling and things like that, is if you're ever unsure how aggressive you should be, I would prefer, and this is coming from someone that was probably overly aggressive in the beginning, I would rather you be a little bit more conservative. And because worst case scenario, you're going to be successful. You're just going to be successful a little slower. If you get over your skis and you get that risk tolerance out of whack, so to speak, and you make a few bad decisions when you really can't financially afford to, I mean, it can bring the whole house of cards down. So I don't really have a number, but that's kind of my advice.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's, I mean, I won't add too much more to that, but I like that you said that there's kind of different ways to approach it. Cause you got in and you just scrapped. Right. And, I did a podcast interview recently with a guy, he's just scrapping, and he's going 100 miles an hour. And is that the way I would do it? No, it's not the way that I would do it. But sometimes, you got to get that foot in the door and, and you're willing to take the risk and you're willing to, maybe if you don't have as much money, you're willing to just work, sweat equity, right? And do it. And you're going to have, just know going into it, you're going to have to earn it. You're going to have to work, go in that direction. So, the other thing that I would say is that before you get in, beware of, there are a lot of what I would kind of consider hidden costs getting into this. I mean, you've got things like rent deposits, you've got things like utility deposits, you've got, that things come up, especially early on. And what you don't want to have happen is to be at your max, to be at your limit, and then have something happen and it sinks you before you really even get going. So
I know experienced people that have done that.
So, for sure.
Just keep that in mind. I'm sure you do too.
Yeah, it's easy to do.
It is.
I'm going to throw this question to the chat actually. And it's, what's the best app or program for to help with create a cashless laundromat, self-serve laundromat, plus help manage pickup and delivery, wash, dry, fold? Dave already mentioned that he uses Sense with his stores. And then the other thing that I'll just say on that, and again, if you guys in the chat want to, yeah, Ted said those hidden costs. If you guys want to share what you guys use or what your experience has been, that would be helpful, I think, for everybody. The other thing I would say on that is try them, try all the different ones, and do demos for pretty much all of them. You can do demos for free with them. And so demo those things and see what you're resonating with. And not only that, but who you're resonating with in terms of the team that that's behind the software that you're going to be using. Cause they sort of become part of your team as you adopt and use their software. So,
well, I'll throw this out there too, Jordan, as someone who's switched softwares twice now. The more significant and more mature a business you build, the harder it is to change.
Yes.
And when you change, the more of a chink in your armor that you will take when you switch over. You're going to lose when you change. The software could be good, bad, and different. Doesn't matter. It's different. Every software is different. Even if you're going from what's quote unquote a bad software to an amazing software, right? It's different. It behaves differently for your employees, which they'll get on board, they'll learn. But man, for your customers, they sometimes won't. They just don't like different. They don't like change. They get confused. You can hold their hand. You can give them discounts. You can coach them. And there's still a certain level of customers that you're going to lose in the process. So take your time. Don't be one of these people that's constantly changing card systems and constantly changing software systems. Take your time. Do your homework. I would rather you operate, and this is just my opinion, but I'd rather you operate on a 3-part carbon copy ticket for a year and really know what you're doing. And then choose the right company for you. But I'll throw one more thing out there before we move on, Jordan. When it comes to software, I see a lot of people, and I hope I'm going to do this justice. I see a lot of people making software decisions based on the tools, the widgets. They do a demo and they say, show me what it does and what it doesn't do. Does it have this tool? Does it text this way? Does it have this flip button? Does it optimize routes? They have this punch list that they go through. And I'm not saying you shouldn't do that, but the software that checks the most boxes is not me. That means that might be the best software for you today. But you hit on it, Jordan. You need to get to know the team. You need to understand their roadmap and their vision. What are they trying to build? And how does that synergize with what you're trying to build? Because if you do your demos and you research all the little widgets and tools and features that these software companies have, and you choose the one today that's best for you, but that's not the best one for you in 2 years, which this is hard to do, by the way. I'm not making light of it. Then in 2 years, you're going to have made a bad decision, but you made a good decision today. So I don't know if I did a good job explaining that, but a lot of these companies, I mean, there's, 10 or 15 of them out there nowadays in the industry, maybe more. They're popping up every day. It's hard to do. And by the way, one other thing I'll throw out there, I know we like our Facebook groups and stuff like that and our chats and all this. This is not a popularity contest either. So if you ask, in a whatever group you're in or groups you're in, hey, what software do you use for pickup and delivery? This is not a survey. The highest number doesn't win. That's a really, really lazy way of doing market research. Not saying you shouldn't ask the question, you shouldn't collect that data, but it has to be a very small portion of how you're making decisions. So I hope everybody understands that. And that's coming from my perspective of I've done this wrong. I've seen some people that did it wrong and made bad decisions. And I've tried to help them kind of coach them out of the process. And these are the things that I've learned. So take your time. I mean, you're never going to know for sure. Eventually you got to make a decision. You can't be paralyzed by fear or anything like that. But if you're going to build a significant multi-million-dollar pickup and delivery business, which a lot of people have the desire to do nowadays, you do not want to change your software when you're doing $1 million. You don't, trust me. It'll set you back a couple of years, even if you're even if you're switching to a better platform, quote unquote. So,
yeah. And another tip too is, polling, for lack of a better word, Facebook groups, forums, or whatever is a great thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
But probably a much better thing to do, and what I would do if I was going through this process right now and anticipating building a big business, is I would in those groups or on the Laundromat Resource Podcast or on the Laundromat Millionaire Podcast. Find the people who have the business closest to what you want to build. Reach out to them and see if you can have a conversation with them and say, what things are you looking for now in where you're at in business? What are you looking for in the software to help you? Because I'm trying to build a business that looks like your business or is similar or similar size or whatever to your business. What were some of the problems you encountered with your software? What do you wish software had? Those kinds of questions, and getting a little more personal with the people who are actually doing it. Because one of the downsides, I love the Facebook groups. I love the forums. I love the connection that we're having. That's the whole reason I do what I do, is to help try to connect us all together and share ideas. The downside to that is you don't always know who's behind the different comments and who's advice to take and who's just pretending like they know what they're talking about, and so that's sort of the downside and trying to weed through all that. So try to find the people who are doing what you're trying to do and get a little more granular and ask them good questions.
Great point. Fantastic point.
Next question. Do you have for wash and fold, and I'm guessing and pickup and delivery, but do you have a customer retention goal? And if you do you have a bonus for your manager for hitting that retention goal?
We don't have a retention goal. Our three key, and we have other ones, but our three key KPIs, I'll just share with you, are 30% profit, which isn't our first one, by the way, but that's one of our KPIs. Another one of our KPIs is over 95% 5- and 4-star reviews. And our third KPI is company culture. So those are very unique KPIs, especially if you're a very data-oriented person who likes to quantify and track data only. Those are the things that are important to us. So those are the things that we spend the most amount of time and effort and energy on, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just gonna point. This next question is, how do you know if a laundromat is a good one or not? And I'm just going to point you to, there's a whole lot that goes into that. Dave's got a lot of really great. Do you have any specific resources you want to point them to for that? If not, that's fine.
No, I don't think. I talked about the checklist, things like that earlier. That's where I'd go back to.
Yeah, Dave's got some downloadables. Go check that out. I've got a free course. It's just a 3-lesson course that'll tell you essentially how to value and how to do some due diligence, the very basic level of that. Go check out that free course on laundromatresource.com/courses, maybe. I forget the link actually. New website's getting rolled out next week.
Nice.
I'm excited about that.
Hey, all right.
I know. Finally, our website is disaster. It's embarrassing. But anyways, so check that out. And then obviously we have a bunch of free downloads too. So go check out those tools. Those are available to you. So why not go use them? Make them your own if you want to. But those are there. So we can leave that there. What times do you have a third shift? What times do they work if you have a third shift?
So we have our process. We have a third shift processing crew, to be clear. So I'm not sure what question they're asking here. So we have 4 stores, 3 of them that close at 10 p.m. Our superstore, which is where one of them is open 24 hours, by the way. That's unattended overnight. It's attended during the day and unattended overnight. But if you're asking about processing, yes, we have a third shift processing crew that comes in at 9:30 at our superstore, which is the one that closes at 10. And they basically, all the machines go free. We priced them for time of day pricing. And at 9:30, 10 o'clock, as the last customer's leaving the store, the washers and dryers go free. And it becomes a production facility. We process several thousand pounds of laundry every night while the store is closed to the public. We have anywhere from 1 to 2 supervisors on duty with the crew that are kind of calling the shots overnight. So if that's super quick, a simplistic answer for you.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. You just got Larry, classic. I love this. Larry says, I've been in the business a long time. I remember when we would dump out all the quarters and all the ones that were heads, we would report those as income.
Larry, delete that comment. That comment.
That was a really long time ago.
Right.
Beyond the statute of limitations.
Right. Whatever that is.
Get out of here, IRS. Yeah. This is like, 40 years, of course. No, that's hilarious.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I've heard things like that for years. They crack me up.
Yeah. Somebody asked where all the links are found. I'm not sure what links you're asking. So if you ask that question, this was like a really long time ago now. But if you ask that question, you can specify. We've got links all over the place. So laundromatmillionaire.com, laundromatresource.com. That's where you can find most of the stuff we're talking about, or on our YouTube channels or different platforms, all the social platforms. So check that out. Are distributors offended if you talk to other distributors, maybe to try to get like some price comparison?
Sorry, one of the questions distracted me. I'm trying to not look at the chat.
Are distributors offended if you go talk to other distributors, like maybe to do price comparison? Should you do that? Should you not do that? Do they get offended? Should you care?
There's a whole lot in there. Do they? Sure, they do. I mean, some of them do, some of them don't. I think it depends on the distributor. I think it depends on their personality. I think it depends on their comfort in the, their position in the market. If they believe they're the leader, they're probably not too, it's the old abundance mindset, scarcity mindset type of thing. I think there's a lot that can go into that. Now, the other side of the equation is, should you? I believe that if you're new to the industry and you're getting into the industry, and you don't have a coach or a consultant that can help you guide through these things, I personally believe you should take anywhere from 3 to 6 months and take this job very seriously. This won't be the be all end all. You might make a mistake. You might have to pivot and shift, but I believe that you should spend as much time as you can interviewing, getting to know, meeting for coffee, meeting for lunch, meeting them at customer stores, however much time they will give you, and trying to determine who is the distributor that you want to do business with. And I'm talking from a relationship perspective, because I believe the best distributors, and I know there's a lot of transactional relationships out there, the best distributors will want to build a relationship with you as a human being, and their number one priority will be making your business successful. That sounds like a pipe dream to some of you that haven't found a great distributor, but they exist. They exist in most markets of the country. Some markets don't have any, some only have 1 or 2, and some of the bigger markets have a bunch of really great distributors. But the good news is you only need one. But you need to take your time, and you need to get to know them as human beings. And why are they in business? If they are in business, and I call it a transactional relationship, they're interested in moving metal. That's all they're interested in. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. They got babies to feed too. But at the end of the day, personally, I'm a relationship guy. So I want somebody that wants to be a business partner to me. That obviously is no secret. My equipment distributor in Cincinnati is HM Company. That's what we've done. We have a synergy between us that works really well. And obviously I've, over the years, probably sent them 10, 20, $30 million worth of business. So it's paid off for them, but that's my quick answer for you. Easier said than done. There's an art to that, but
yeah, that was not that quick. I'm just pointing that out. Only thing I'll add to that, only thing I'll say is I do a lot of consulting all over the place. And whenever I'm consulting with somebody, if they're buying new equipment, I just have them shoot me their quote over, and I have seen prices all over the map. I had a client I had just bought some 80 pounders here for one of my stores. And just like 2 months before I had this consulting call, and I had my client who was in Florida, I'm in California, was in Florida, send me their quote over, and the same exact machines, they were quoted $10,000 more per machine for the same exact machines. And there's listen, I've been harping on this for years now. There's no price transparency. No. It is not good for our business. It is not good for us as laundromat owners. But that's the reality of the situation. So you've got to know, if you don't price compare, okay, that's fine. But at least run that quote by somebody who can eyeball a comparison for you, because I've seen quotes all over the map. So yeah, that's all I'll say about that.
That's pretty egregious.
Yeah, it was.
I believe it. I'm not saying I don't.
No, I know. I was not. Egregious. That makes me.
They should be embarrassed.
It's why it's why I get so passionate about this should not be an issue. It's not that hard to post. Manufacturers should post an MSRP. Done.
Yep.
That's all it would take.
Yeah.
And distributors should have, in my opinion, should have transparent pricing. But that's not the reality we live in. And if we want to make that the reality, it's going to be up to us to force that reality. So that's all I'll say about that.
That's one of the beauties of even the Facebook groups, where I know some groups are affiliated with organizations and won't let you share things and stuff like that. I mean, Jordan has a platform that has a chat where you can share things transparently there. I have a Facebook group, Laundromat Millionaire, group, owners group, and you can share pricing there. You get everybody else can do what they want to do, but I mean, there's something to be said for bring the bad actors into the light, is what I say. The predators. There is I love this industry. I love everything, not everything. I love most things about this industry, but there is a dark side to this industry. And a big part of why I do what I do and why I speak out and why I have opinions and I'm not a politician and I don't apologize and I say what I think and I think what I say is because I think we need more of this for each other. Forget everybody else, for each other. Us laundromat owners, we need to be looking out for each other, because let's not pretend for a second that there aren't bad actors, there aren't predators in this industry. Now, the flip side of that is don't let yourself get jaded, which is easy to do, especially if you've been burnt. Not everybody is out to get you, right? That's the other side of the equation. So we have to balance this. That can be, that can involve emotions and things like that too. But yes, take your time, research all of them. But do I think at the end, I don't know if I answered the question, but do I think you should get multiple quotes from multiple distributors? Yes, I do. And until you have a established relationship with a distributor and you know who you're going to work with, you've built a line of communication, you've built trust, and you can look at a quote and know, is this $10,000 over on an 80-pound washer? Because that would jump out to anybody in the industry that knows anything about this industry in 5 seconds. Until you're in that position, you have that level of knowledge, you need somebody on your team.
Yeah. And I don't want to keep harping on this, but I'm going to anyways. It's not only about the quote. It's not only about the number, right? It's also kind of going back to the software question, also about the team that you're working with, right? Like Dave loves his distributor, calls him a rock star distributor, refers people to him. I've had some good distributors. I've had some bad distributors, right? They're not all created equal. And, also besides the quote, you're also looking for who's going to help me succeed, right? And sometimes you're going to go with a quote that's a little higher on 100%. One brand than another, because that distributor is going to help you succeed. And the other one's just trying to sell you something, and you won't hear from them again until they have a sale on equipment where they're going to reach back out to you. Right. So that's the other part of talking to multiple distributors. So if they're offended, then you know what? They may not be the one you want to work with anyways. I don't know.
Let me throw one more thing before we move on, Jordan,
because I think this is rolling all night on this one.
I think this is really important. The flip side to that is, because we're laundromat owners, I think most of us here in the chat are laundromat owners or potential laundromat owners. We have a responsibility to distributors, because I see a lot of laundromat owners mistreating good distributors and expecting certain behavior from the distributor that they're not reciprocating. If you don't want a transactional relationship with your distributor, then don't treat the relationship transactional from your perspective. And that's kind of what Jordan just hit on here. Is if you want to if you want to get a bunch of quotes and you want to get, you want to buy the cheapest equipment, that's fine, but you might get what you pay for, right? You might not get the best distributor. You might not get the best service. You might squeeze their margins so tight that they don't even want to take your call next time. Like, that's the other side of this relationship thing, is if you want them to care about your business, newsflash, care about their business, because they're independent business. Most of them are independent business owners too. And they got families and they need margin. And if all you do is beat them up and squeeze every nickel you can out of them, then you're doing to them what the bad distributors are doing to you. You're treating this like a transactional relationship. You have to make that investment too. So I'm not saying be a sucker and overpay, but there's somewhere in the middle that this works for everybody, and it has to be a win-win. So we have a responsibility too. I don't think we as laundromat owners talk about that enough. We like to beat up on the distributors, which is fair in a lot of ways. But I do think there's a lot of laundromat owners that kind of get what they pay for, and then they like to get in the Facebook groups and pound on certain distributors. And it's like, you kind of did this to yourself. Not that they would have been great to you no matter what, but you might have chose the wrong distributor for the wrong reason because you only shopped price. And maybe they gave you the best price because they were desperate to move some metal. And then now you're expecting a relationship with them where they're going to care about your business and you don't care about their business. So why would they care about yours? It goes both ways. I like the analogy of a marriage. I mean, it goes both ways. If you want to have a great spouse, you got to be a great spouse. And I don't know that we talk about that enough. So I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah. Dave's marriage counseling Q&A will happen on Sunday
A
at
separate website
9
launching
p.m.
marriage.
Eastern time.
Carla would be laughing so hard right now. Dave, the marriage coach. Oh boy.
Okay. I'm going to take care of one question real quick. And then I've got 2 questions that I just need 1-word answers for, because we're going, man. And we've
I know
got
you
a
did
lot
this
of
to
questions
Wally.
still.
You did this to Wally the other night. He didn't cooperate. I'm not going to either.
I
I'm going to tell you right
know.
now.
But you know what? He had a lot of good things to say. So, you know what I mean?
True.
I'm just kidding. Okay. I'm going to take care of this one real quick, because this was a great question, but there were a lot of great answers in the chat. This is a really difficult situation. What to do if a landlord won't sign a waiver from the distributor for the machines, and they've already the owners already signed the lease, and so they're on the hook. So I'm not going to actually even touch that, because there's a lot that goes in that. That is not a good situation. I'm sorry to hear that that is the situation that you're in. The landlord is not cooperating. But there's a lot of really great advice in the chat. So if you're interested in that question, go check out the chat over there, because that's a difficult situation. I don't know if you want to say anything about that, but yeah, check out the chat. I mean, there was a lot of good advice there. Okay, 1-word answer here. When you're weighing clothes for wash, dry, fold, do you weigh them to 1 or 2 decimals?
2.
That's it. Don't say anything else. Man, this is great. I like this. Okay, another 1-word answer. Does using ozone get smoke odors out? And the question actually was weed smoke odors.
Yeah, I actually saw it. I was laughing. But
yeah.
Yes, 100%. Absolutely.
Okay.
That's 3 words.
That was not 1 word. That was many words. Okay. Okay. Well, this one, you want to give some tips. How about just a couple quick tips on this? How do you get commercial accounts for wash or for pickup and delivery?
Well, so I'm probably the wrong person to ask.
Yeah.
For that, because I don't do a lot of commercial. And let me define commercial real quickly. So I define true commercial as, a level below industrial. So I categorize really wash, dry, fold, but pick up and delivery into 4 categories: residential, small business, light commercial, and industrial. And you can I'm sure you can figure out pretty quickly what those are. I don't really touch the top 2. Now, some people like to go after that high volume, low margin business. That's just not my cup of tea. That's not, we're interested in the opposite: low volume, high margin business. And the reason we are is because there's so much of it out there. If you're asking a question around contracts and having an outside sales guy that's going out there and drumming up business, 3-year agreements with hotels, and I'm the wrong guy to ask. There are people that will help you find that business, but I am not one of them. We focus on exclusively, word of mouth, obviously, our van wraps and digital marketing. Yeah. But we focus on small business and residential almost exclusively.
Yeah. Great answer. And that knocks out a question that somebody asked much later, which is why you don't do industrial laundry and compete with the Cintas, which they believe that you can do it. So that's just a vote of confidence for you.
Oh, you can. Absolutely.
No, you specifically, they believe you, Dave, Laundromat Millionaire Menz, can compete with Cintas. So just a huge compliment right there.
Oh, well, thank you.
Somebody was like, I was traveling in Europe, and why I mean, you probably don't, I don't know the answer to this either, but maybe you do. How come they can charge so much more in European laundromats than we can charge over here in America?
It's just the exchange rate. That's it.
On the exchange rate.
I don't know. You just got back from Europe. You tell me.
I know. I don't know. I actually did laundry a couple times in laundry because I wanted to go, when we were there for a couple months and we were doing laundry anyways. And we had laundry washing machines in most of the places we stayed, but I did it in, I don't know. They're a lot smaller. So I'm sure that
when you did you use a laundromat there?
I did multiple times. Yeah. I don't even remember. I mean, I think we're in double-digit euros for a lot of the machines, even a lot of the smaller machines. I don't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah. I don't know if Richard's still out there, but if it's the Richard I think it is, which I'm pretty sure it is, yeah, he's here. I don't know if he's still here. Richard's in Canada. I know Richard, go ahead and drop a couple of your prices in the chat if you want.
Mm-hmm.
His prices are, I mean, I think my prices are pretty aggressive, and I have people tell me they can't charge my prices all the time, and then every time I see Richard post, I'm like, I got a long ways to go.
Yeah.
So I I think more of pricing has to do with your value proposition relative to your competitors in the market than anything else. I believe we can all charge much more than we think we can if we deliver that level of value. And I think that's maybe where a lot of us fall short. I know I certainly do at times. I don't believe I've hit the top of my market, and a lot of people think my prices are pretty high. I don't believe I have at all, but I can tell you I'm not within 30% of my competitors, meaning I'm 30% more than my competitors.
Yeah, and somebody, Ted said taxes probably have something to do with it. The other thing is all the laundromats that I saw were much smaller than most laundromats that we have, and so probably in order to make it worth it, you've got to
right there. $24 for a 60-pound machine.
24, but that's Canadian dollars. What
well, I'm gonna correct this because me and Richard have chatted a little bit about this in one of the groups a while back. That is Canadian, but he charges the same price USD. So if they pay in US dollars, the price doesn't change. So they still pay that. Now, obviously, most of his customers, I'm guessing, are paying Canadian prices, which is not the same. But he was telling me he doesn't change the price if they pay with US dollars, which is, I mean, I charge $13 for an 80-pound machine, $3 extra wash, $3 for extra rinse. And people tell me I'm off my rocker. I'm like, look at this.
Yeah.
And Richard runs a good business. He knows what he's doing. He's got nice stores. I mean, good for him. I'll collectively say it. Our industry so drastically undervalues everything we do. Everything we do, we are undervaluing. Even the people that are at the top of the industry pricing wise. They're $18 USD.
For 60 pounders. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, he's got the benefit of, us Americans are not that great at math.
Not that smart.
You know what I mean? We're not that smart. So
we don't even know. Point. Some of us go to Canada, didn't even know there was a difference in Canadian money and US money.
I know. I'm going to skip a couple of these questions. Somebody's asking about helping somebody. How do you find somebody to help with building codes? If you have advice, I mean, you're going to need probably a contractor to help you with business codes. I would say crowdsource it. Go to Google and find out who's got good reviews and reach out to a few of them and vet them. See who's going to be able to help you. Somebody was like, do you only accept dollar coins for your stores?
No, we accept dollar coins, credit cards, debit cards, phone pay, and very soon we'll have loyalty cards too. We're hybrid.
Awesome. You're like all the hybrids.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm gonna just refer again. Somebody asked best way to get your foot in the door in this industry. Listen, you got a lot of free resources out there. Squeeze those for what they're worth. You got Dave's Laundromat Millionaire podcast. You got Laundromat Resource podcast. There's a lot of blog posts, YouTube videos, live Q&As. I got the free course on how to buy your first laundromat. Go check that. It's free. There's a whole lot of, the Facebook groups and the forums and all that stuff. Go utilize that stuff and then just start connecting with people. That's another great way to do it. Somebody asked how much auto sliding doors are. I saw a couple of people say around 10 grand. Do some research. You can find that. What do you think we are? Google over here? Come on. Just kidding. Does offering pickup and delivery, wash, dry, fold with Ozone, does the Ozone have any cost savings associated with it?
They say it does. I don't know that it's enough to really move the needle. The things they like to kind of market are not inaccurate. So let me be very clear there. They say things like, can save you so much on your utility bill. The reason they say that is factually it's correct because ozone causes your fabrics in your clothing to relax in the same way that hot water does. So anything that you wash in ozone doesn't need to be washed in hot water. If you're using ozone, you never need to use hot water to effectively clean clothes. It accomplishes the same thing that hot water does. So if you were to do that, in theory, you would save money on your hot water heater, right? Producing hot water. So those are the things they really point to for it being eco-friendly and utility savings. Obviously, from a self-serve perspective, I don't care if you put ozone in or not. Good luck trying to convince grandma not to choose hot water and that she doesn't need it. She can just use cold because you have ozone. Like that ain't going to happen. Now, from a pickup and delivery, a wash, dry, fold perspective, you can absolutely train your team that at the end of the day, what the customer wants is your clothes clean. Just because they ask for hot water, they don't understand that ozone does the same thing, and your customer will be very happy with the finished product. So on that side of the house, so to speak, you can lower your utilities bill. It's not a big number; it's a few percent. I mean, it does add up for sure. I mean, to give you an idea, at my superstore, people don't believe me when I tell them this. Our utilities as a percentage of sales is about 3.5%. And every time I tell people that, they think I'm an idiot. They don't believe me. They think I'm a liar, whatever, these different things. There's a lot of things that go into that. Ozone is just one part of it. Obviously we have higher prices and, our utilities are pretty reasonable in Cincinnati. There's a lot of factors involved in that. We do a ton of drop off, a ton of pickup and delivery, which if you run an 80-pound machine at $2.50 a pound, you can do the math of how much revenue you're generating by running an 80-pound machine. So there's a lot of factors that go into that we don't have time for today. But at the end of the day, yes, it does save you. It is real, but it's not significant, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I can vouch, Dave is not a liar, an idiot.
Probably so.
Not
Talks
a liar,
too much, says things he shouldn't say out loud.
All right, let's try to blitz through just a few more questions. I know we're like, dude, we've been going. This is like a date of all dates, but let's blitz through because there's a few more that I think are really good.
Sure.
Somebody asked, you can be brief on this one. Somebody asked, do you recommend running a pickup and delivery business from your house?
If that's how you have to get started, I'm a big fan of not telling people not to do things that, I mean, we know people that have done that successfully. What I will tell you is that is not a scalable business in any way, shape, or form, and that's probably the understatement of the century. If you are just a one-man show or one-woman show and you're just doing poplin, you're making some extra money because you want to stay at home with the kids, throw them in the minivan, go pick up. Okay, I mean, yeah, I mean that works, sure, but at the end of the day, there is nothing efficient and everything inefficient about residential washers and dryers. You could build a laundromat with residential washers and dryers, and it is still a bad idea in every way, shape, and form. So if you're limited to one or two residential washers, dryers, not to mention, God forbid, you have to run up down steps and all the, carry the baby. And I mean, is it crazy town? Sure. But if you go back and read my book, is what I did crazy town too? Sure, it is. So who am I to tell you not to do something? Are there much better ways of doing it? Absolutely. But if that's where you are and you need to start where you are and you don't have other options, then someone like Mark Vlaskamp would tell you, freaking go chase your dream, baby. Go get it done. But understand that that's not going to work long term and it's not going to work at scale. You have too many things working against you that I don't. And so if I'm competing with you, you have about 1,000 disadvantages by behaving that way.
Yeah.
But and absolutely, actually, don't let us talk you out of it either.
Yeah. And actually, Mark would recommend not to do that because he knows how much work goes into that. So just know you've got your work cut out for you if you're going that way.
Yes, 100%.
Okay, Natasha asked this twice, so I want to make sure we answer her question. And it's a good question because this theme gets asked a lot. She lives in the Midwest. Do you recommend that she looks to buy a laundromat, for example, in New York City?
If she's new to the industry and she doesn't know anyone in New York City, no. I mean, we could talk about that for half an hour too, as you know, Jordan. That kind of like the pickup and delivery in your basement kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I mean, can you do it? Sure. Who am I to tell you can't? You ask my opinion, would I recommend it? You've got an awful lot working against you. And more every day, our industry is evolving with, once again, we talked about it earlier, better, more sophisticated operators, better, more sophisticated operations. You don't want things working against you, especially in a competitive landscape like New York City, for example. Mm-hmm. You want to stack the deck in your favor as much as you can. There's got to be, if you're in the Midwest, I mean, there's got to be good opportunities closer to you. Our industry is still ripe with opportunity. There's got to be closer, better opportunities to you than that. But once again, who am I to tell you not to? You're just, it's an uphill sled for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Can you give us just your best tip to accelerate pickup and delivery revenue?
I would tell you not to chase revenue. I would tell you to chase profit. I would tell you to chase margin. And that is done by chasing low volume, high margin business. If you're talking about attracting customers, digital marketing, and invest in a nice wrap on your Vans. Not sure which question they were asking in there.
Nice. That's great. Calvin, Corey, welcome. Way to join the party. You're at the laundromat date night.
That's right.
Maybe we should talk
Mixer.
slow and low.
Like you're gonna put me to bed.
DJ.
You're gonna put me to sleep.
I know it's late.
Not the middle of the day here.
If you own multiple stores, I do recommend, not a lawyer, but I do recommend you own them in separate entities. So I'll just throw that out there. There's questions about company culture, but I don't think we really have time in this one to get into that too much.
I'll give a quick answer.
Okay, yeah.
Question. I'll give a super quick answer.
Okay.
How do your employees feel on Sunday night at 6 o'clock about going to work on Monday morning? Have you ever had that job? Because I have multiple times, where you at 6 o'clock on Sunday evening, assuming you're punching a 9 to 5, of course, your mood changed. Your family recognized it. Everything about you changed because you didn't like going to work. I don't want my employees to feel like that. I know they work in a laundromat. I know they do laundry for a living and they clean bathrooms, and I can't do anything about that. I mean, I can try to make their job a little more pleasant, but at the end of the day, the tasks that they do in our company, I can't change that. But the culture revolves around what you tolerate and how the expectations you have for how human beings behave in your business. And that means customers, what you accept, what you tolerate, and it also means employees, what your standards are. And that's our gauge, is how do our employees feel at 6 o'clock on a Sunday evening about coming to work on Monday morning? If they look forward to it, I have a positive company culture. Now, the flip side's also true. If they don't fit into a positive culture, then they're going to be miserable. And that means they're in the wrong place. Like, there's nothing wrong with our culture. They're not a good fit for our culture. We could go a lot deeper, but that's a super quick barometer that we use, and we talk about it all the time in our organization.
And related, Gisela asked, as a Christian, how can you implement or introduce your values in your business? I would say just whatever your values are. I mean, Christian, great. Any values, how do you implement them into your business? I don't know if you want to say anything on that.
Well, I'll say two things. One of them is you're the leader of your business, whether you're quote unquote absentee and you have a team like I do, which I'm not absentee, but you know what I mean. I'm not an operations person nowadays. Your business will be a reflection of who you are. So you can't be delusioned of who you think you are. Some people are legends in our own minds, and we think we are a better version of ourselves than we are. Your company culture will be a reflection of your leader, and your leadership and your management. So who you hire, who you promote. Do you promote them just because they work hard? Or do you promote them because they're high character, trustworthy, reliable individuals who always treat human beings the way human beings should treat each other? Those are not always the same thing, right? And how much do you value those things that are tough to quantify? I don't want to say unquantifiable, but tough to quantify. I'll speak to the Christian thing since that's specifically what was asked. The Bible guides my decisions. It's that simple. God gave us the Bible. I'm not here to beat everybody with it, but I'm a Christian. Jordan's a Christian. That is my guiding light to how I should run my life. And that's what drives everything I do, or at least try to.
Yeah. And Waleed said, check out the Chick-fil-A model. I'd say another person that's interesting right now, specifically on the Christian thing, is Ryan Pineda, who is kind of a real estate guy and business guy, but he's very he's directly going after a Christian based audience, is what he's doing. And so that'd be another interesting one to roll into and check out the way that he's doing that. So a great answer on that. Somebody wants to know what equipment you have. You want to share that or no?
Sure. Hipsh.
Hipsh is the one that nobody knows how to say it when they see it.
Hibbish.
Cubish. That's my favorite one when people they don't know what it is because it's not.
I always laugh when they say, "Is that German?" Yeah. Which I actually thought at one point too. Nope. It's made in Wisconsin.
Yeah. Is that named after someone? Where did that name come from? It's got to be named after someone, huh?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I asked somebody at Alliance that one time, and I don't remember what they told me. I'm sure there's some story behind it, but.
Okay, so you have Hipsh, but somebody wants to know, are Dexter and Wascomat washers good quality washers?
I don't use either one. I have some. Well, let me rephrase that. So I've never used a Dexter washer. What I know of them is they are very, you asked my opinions. I'm just going to give it to you. I've never used a Dexter washer. Of course, I'm familiar with them. I have a lot of friends that do, that are big fans of them. They're really solid machines. They're workhorses. They just work. They're good quality machines. And in my opinion, I think Dexter lacks a lot in the R&D department. They lack a lot in the innovation department. Their washers today don't look a whole lot different or behave a whole lot different than they did 30 years ago. And if y'all want to attack me, if you're Dexter people in the comments, that's fine, but that's my opinion. Waskamat, I actually do have 12 Waskamat 20-pound machines that were in a store when I bought it. And these are roughly 20 years old now. And those machines are, and you all know what I'm talking about, those are some of the best washers ever made. I don't have any newer than that, so I don't want to speak relative to those, but I know plenty of people that use the Waskamat Electrolux line that love them and believe they're great machines. I do follow these companies and these manufacturers, and I see their innovation being pretty impressive. So those are my, for what it's worth, those are my opinions of the manufacturers.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. And I mean, I would agree with that. I was just actually, I don't do very many in-person consultations, but somebody tugged at my heartstrings because they had a similar story to me that they were in the middle of. And I was like, okay, I'll help you out. But we were talking and they had Dexter dryers. And I'm like, actually, I don't know how old these dryers are because the dryers have pretty much
be 2 years old.
Yeah, they could be 2 years old. They could be 20 years old. I don't know. It's hard to tell. That's the biggest complaint I have against Dexter's. Yeah. You cannot tell. And that could be a good thing too. I mean, there's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but that's just kind of a
I just think they're behind the times when it comes to innovation and technology and things like that. I mean, they have a good thing, and I think they kind of had the, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, which there's some truth to that. It's a good, solid product, but I mean, innovation's a big part of our industry today, and I think they're lacking in that area. Just an observation.
And I mean, I'm speaking for me. My opinion is, so is everybody else. They may be further ahead innovation wise than some may be further ahead than others, but I would say our most technologically advanced commercial washer that we have is still behind the times.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So,
relative to other industries, you mean?
And other cultures. I mean, there's some other places that have more innovative technology integrated in their machines.
Yeah, I think it's borderline comical that our first touch machine for the industry was in 2019.
I was just talking to somebody about that. I'm like, good grief. What do we have?
Embarrassing.
Touch came out. I don't know.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah. Anyway. And that's what we're all like super excited about too, is the touch screen. I'm like, oh my gosh, let's not get that excited about that. How do you price pickup and delivery?
By the pound.
Okay. Well, and that's funny. I just did a podcast interview too, and I was putting somebody on the spot. I was like, by the pound or by the bag? And there's proponents of both that do very, very well in both. So
I've done a podcast on it.
And there's a good podcast that you have on that. So you price by the pound. I could be wrong, but I'm wondering if the question is, how do you determine what your price point should be for pickup and delivery?
Yeah, I'm guessing that's why I was actually kind of laughing.
Yeah.
So we actually did a different podcast on it's for drop off, but a lot of it's relative. So I mean, we have a formula. It's a mathematical formula that we reverse engineer based on 30% margins. We know all of our costs. Go check out that podcast. I apologize, I don't have the link in front of me at the moment. But those are, I mean, we only have 70 podcasts, 74, 75. So it shouldn't be too hard to find, but it's in the last season or so. It's not one of the earlier ones. Both of the podcasts I just referred to. So check those out because both of them are about an hour long. So we go into a lot of detail on how do we do that. I call it scientifically or mathematically. But it's important to know your numbers. It's important to know your costs on and in our case, a per pound basis, because that's how we charge. And then once you know those costs, then you just got to build in a 30% margin and that's your price. It's a super quick answer.
Yeah. Well, and so I actually just built out, had a developer built out a calculator that will help you determine what your cost is per pound for wash, dry, fold, and for pickup and delivery. And you can build in what percentage margin you want in there, and it will tell you your cost and what your price point should be. And so you can use that on the residential side, or you can use it on the commercial side to quote, you know, customers based on the different variables there. And it's just about to come out. So if you're not on the email list or not listening to the podcast and stuff, as soon as it's fully tested and ready to go, you'll be able to check that calculator out. Should be in the next week or so that it should be out. So check that. That'll help you.
The key is to knowing your cost. I mean, you can have a calculator, but if you don't know your cost, the calculator is not going to help you.
Well, the calculator will calculate your costs for you, but the quality is in the inputs, right? The output quality is in the inputs, right? But it's going to help you. It's going to walk you through the process of how to calculate your costs. And then based on those costs, both for the wash, dry, fold and the pickup and delivery, which obviously there's more costs associated with the pickup and delivery, based on those costs and the margin that you choose, default set at 30, but you can make that whatever you want. It'll show you what you should be charging. And I think a lot of people are going to be surprised at the fact that they're not making money or they're not making nearly as much as they thought. The other cool thing about this calculator is you can play around with some of the different inputs and stuff. And there's some cool variables, like if you want to pay your employees bonuses and stuff like that, all that can be factored in there. But you can play around with the variables, and you'll see as you play around with it, there are hidden levers. And I say that kind of tongue in cheek a little bit. They're not really hidden, but there are certain things that you can do to dramatically increase your margins or decrease your pricing, depending on how you operate things. And I think that calculator and playing around with it will be a fun way to kind of figure that out for your specific situation. So
nothing more important than knowing your numbers, guys. It's something our industry really lacks. I used to lack it for a long time. I learned my lessons. I've learned my numbers, and it'll change your life forever. Don't assume. It's a bad strategy.
Well, we've been doing gut pricing and all of that for a long time. And it's like you said, I think we're undervaluing ourselves. Our guts are not reliable. This will be an easy one for you. Do you commingle multiple orders in a wash for your wash, dry, fold?
No.
Never.
Never.
Do you have any rules on employees doing their own laundry?
We do not allow them to do their own laundry on the clock. They are allowed to do their laundry off the clock. They get an allocation of so much money per week as an employee perk to come in and do their laundry. It has to be off the clock, and it has to be when the manager's on duty. Those are our two parameters.
Yeah. Would you ever consider acquiring a dry cleaner as a way to expand your business?
No.
How come?
Well, full disclosure, one of them is because we have an awesome relationship with an awesome dry cleaner who does us really right, and they're high quality. So there's a synergy there. Another one is because the dry cleaning industry, I don't like the term dying, but it's definitely shrinking. And I don't want to be in a shrinking business. I want to be in a growing business that's expanding. And I know you could argue wash, dry, fold is expanding and dry cleaners do wash, dry, fold, but I can do that without a dry cleaning plant. And the last one is dry cleaning machines and the finishing machines associated with dry cleaning is kind of an art. And it's kind of a trade in a way that's kind of a lost art, a lost trade. And it's getting harder and harder. If you talk to people in the dry cleaning world, it's getting harder and harder to find people that do good quality work and understand how to finish garments. So it's, there's a lot more opportunity in the laundromat / full service laundry center industry. And this is an exploding and thriving industry. So I'd rather focus my attention on this.
Yeah. Do you post what your costs are, your pickup and delivery costs are? Or do you include, I see what they're saying. Do you include the delivery cost, like the actual pickup and delivery costs in the price per pound, or do you add that in addition?
No, our price is all inclusive. The only thing it doesn't include is sales tax.
Yeah. And that's
but it's obviously a higher price. I mean, we charge $209 for drop off. We charge $249 for pickup and delivery. So obviously I'm charging 40 cents more a pound for pickup and delivery, but it's all included in the price.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, we've done millions of pounds in pickup and delivery and drop off. We clearly advertise drop off price is this, pickup and delivery price is this. Never one time we had someone bring that up.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny because you would think eventually some Karen would be like, which they wouldn't be wrong, by the way.
Right. Yeah. But okay, we're gonna end it with this. It is getting super late over there for you, man.
It is.
And
Thank
you're
you,
not
guys.
you're not even feeling well. We could keep going. I'm trying to condense this. This is awesome, guys. First of all, thank you guys for
thank you very much. You guys are
part of this. This is a lot of fun. And those of you guys who own laundromats who are contributing in the chat, as always, you guys are the real legends, the real heroes over there. Appreciate you guys contributing over there and sharing your expertise. This is what this is all about. And if Dave and I come on here and just talk about whatever, and you guys just answer all the questions, all the better over there. But huge thanks to Dave too for teaming up and doing this. And it's cool that we can.
Joe Dan, take a shower when you get back. I've been to Fremont.
Yeah. That's hilarious. So huge shout out to you and for doing this. Pretty cool. We can do it on both platforms.
Yep.
And I'll end it. Yeah, the second date in 2 days. What are you doing tomorrow night? Hey man, I'm hanging out. Maybe I'll go live again. We could just hang out and talk about whatever. I don't know. No, this is awesome. Dave, awesome as always, guys. I'm sure we'll be doing more of these in the future, so keep an eye out on that. This is always highlight of my life here is hanging out with you, Dave.
You too, man.
One of these days, we need to do this when we're in person and we're doing it together in the same room. That'd be a lot of fun. So
whenever we do a conference next time, which don't get me going right now, but whenever we do a conference next time, I think a part of our conference should be just a Q&A session. I know we kind of do that with panels and topics.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is good stuff. The only thing that's better is in person.
Yeah.
So appreciate you. And I want to publicly just tell you, man, and I know you don't need this from me, but I'm going to tell you anyways, as your friend, I'm proud of you for what you built, and you've driven the industry forward because you were the one, in my opinion, that started a lot of this, if not all of this. I've told you before that you've inspired me by having me on the podcast and seeing you get some momentum and helping people from a digital perspective, podcast, et cetera, et cetera. You've built a really cool platform over there that's helping a lot of people. I think you've accomplished a lot more of your goals than you probably even give yourself credit for sometimes. So proud of you. Keep doing what you're doing, man. And I'm always here if I can help.
I appreciate that. And that goes both ways. And listen, this has been by far the best laundromat date that I've ever been on with 100 or however many people that have been on this. So, I mean,
I think this is definitely the most active chat we've ever had. And they've definitely gotten better as time went on, as both of our platforms grew. But you guys rock. Yeah. Thank you for being a part of it. Thanks for helping each other in the chat, because that's a big part of it. We can't get to all these, and even if we can get to them all, I mean, we just have two opinions. You guys are smart people. You have your own opinions. So thanks for embracing this environment, because it doesn't work with just us.
Yeah. And if there's any questions that we missed, just direct all those to Dave. Shoot him an email and he will promptly get back to all of your questions.
Thanks.
In depth and in detail. So Dave at laundromatmania.com.
Michelle's going to be in trouble. I'm blowing your email up.
That's hilarious. Anyways, all right, guys, go. This Friday night, what are you guys doing with your lives? Again, I'm just going to end it with this: all of this is pointless. It's worthless. It's meaningless if you don't get out there and do it. So get out there and take some action. And listen, JJ Properties trying to get out and make an offer on a laundromat on Monday. That's what I'm talking about. That is what's going to move the needle. Hanging out with us is going to be a ton of fun. And you're going to get to look at Dave's gorgeous mug and all of that. But it's not going to move the needle on your goals. So go out and take some action. Dave, as always, man, huge pleasure, huge honor to be doing this with you. Appreciate you.
You too. Keep doing what you do, buddy.
All right. Have a good night,
Thanks,
guys.
Everyone.